Well, welcome to the Masterclass. I'm Steven Rosen. I'm hosting it today, and I'm very excited to share my focused sales coaching methodology. It's the first time I'm sharing it on a free masterclass, and I've developed this, I guess, close to, I don't know, 15 years ago, and I've worked with companies on it. Coaching, as you're going to see, or as you know, is not an easy task. It's not an easy skill to learn, but it can be very impactful if you become a great coach. I'm very excited for the many people who've signed up. There's VPs of sales, there's sales managers. My favorite, there's sales enablement people who help the rest of the crew, and and a few familiar faces, which are always nice to see. So without further ado, let me talk about why coaching. And I've looked at studies over and over again. Coaching is the number one um, sales management activity that drives sales performance. Um, so if you want to ask, why should I be a good coach? Well, great coaches drive great sales performance. Also, they help develop your people, which improves engagement and also boosts retention. So if you're having a turnover issue, maybe in some cases it relates to not coaching your salespeople, because we know salespeople, at least the millennial salespeople, expect to be coached. So just to, I do a video on this, but Omar, here you are. Uh, this is what I consider the top five coaching mistakes that sales managers make. One, they try to be the super rep and solve their reps' problems. They're a problem solver. Reps come to them and they're always pleased. And sometimes this is new managers who've moved from a sales rep role to a leadership role, and they feel, oh my God, I know what to do, and they solve the reps' problems. And what you're going to find out is that's probably not the best approach. One of the hardest areas that I get feedback from managers is holding their salespeople accountable. And accountability does not have to be punitive. It's just about making sure you follow up. Um, Training, as you know, is one size fits all. We train everybody on the same thing. Coaching is different. Coaching is about the individual and what their specific development need is. So, if you're coaching one of your salespeople on closing and the other salesperson on closing and the third salesperson on closing, that's the one size fits all. And really what you want to do, and hopefully we'll learn from today and take forward, is coaching is very specific to the individual's needs. Uh, I get this a lot, even with folks I work with, and sometimes I sound like a broken record, but sales, the fact is, all of you are very busy. You're very busy people, and you know intuitively that you should be coaching, but the reality is, um, coaching just becomes another to-do item on your another item on your to-do list. And coaching, hopefully after today, you're going to realize should be the top thing you fit time in for, and then everything else becomes checkbox activity. One of my beliefs is, if there's no action plan, I'm a firm believer in almost everything we do, we should have action plans. And if there's no action plan or written next steps, basically anything you do is just an idea. It's not a plan. So a little bit about me. You can read these things, and I'm proud about each one of them. But hard to believe I've been in the sales arena since it's 30 years. To be honest with you, I don't know. I think I started at age 10, but the reality is I've had a very successful, I believe, a very successful career as a sales leader. And 22 years ago, I decided to get out of the rat race and start my own business, helping sales leaders become great sales, actually helping managers become great sales leaders. Um, I also teach at one of the universities in Toronto. I teach in their certificate of sales management. So part of the course that you're getting today, or the master class you're getting today, is what I teach to students, as well as to large corporations uh, who want to develop um, their sales leadership team, which I believe is the best investment you can make. And what you'll find as you get to know me is I'm very passionate about sales leadership, and I've devoted my career to it. And I also publish in a variety of areas, but you're welcome to subscribe to my newsletter if you don't already do that, which is the Sales Leadership Edge. So what are you going to learn today? And I'm trying to keep it, I can go on and on. So I'm going to share my focus sales coaching methodology and also how, you're going to learn how this methodology will help you develop your salespeople. And there's going to be five mindset shifts that you need to make to move from managing to coaching. And I'll talk about all five of them and how you can incorporate them into your daily practices. Now, if coaching was easy, guess what? Everyone would be doing it. And some of the obstacles that we face is one, coaching requires a different mindset. And we're going to talk about that coaching mindset. And it's managers like to control. A coaching mindset is actually allowing the rep to direct the activities. Most companies, and there may be some folks, and I assume the reason why some of you are taking this masterclass is they don't spend a lot of time training their sales managers on coaching. They may spend a lot of time and energy teaching their sales reps how to sell, but coaching tends to be one of the areas that companies just don't do a great job doing in terms of training and maybe even priorities. Coaching takes more time. It's much easier, as we'll talk about, to tell someone what to do than to ask them. And many of you lack the tools. Companies, they have tremendous tools for sales reps in terms of building quotes, in terms of CRM. Most don't have great tools to help managers become effective coaches. Just so if your organization is not doing a good job, or if you're not doing a good job as a manager coaching, well, you're probably going to have low engagement on your team because coaching increases engagement. Sometimes we find out managers who are trying to do too much because they're trying to be a super rep or they're trying to be what I call the operator, which is the reps calling them constantly. They burn out. And I don't want any of you to burn out. Uh, when you're not coaching, the chances are you're not going to hit your targets. You're going to be very challenged to hit your targets. And of course, with all those things going on, people want to work for someone who is coaching them, especially millennials. Coaching is an important part of their overall growth and development. So you get increased turnover. Here's to me, I talked about the reasons why coaching. Well, here's the good and the bad news for you guys. The fact is, there's no other activity that you can do as a sales leader that will have as much impact as effectively coaching your reps. And here's what the data shows. Highly effective coaches outperform their counterparts by 19% in terms of sales. Yet studies show that only a small percentage of sales managers are highly effective coaches. In terms of more coaching, I know I have many clients that actually have learned how to coach. The problem is they're not coaching frequently enough because their schedules are packed with meetings, with reviews, with I don't know what else they're packed with, but your schedules get packed. If you don't leave time for coaching, you're not going to have the impact. And just not even by being an effective coach, but being out there more frequently has a positive impact on sales rep performance by 17%. Yet only, I guess, a small percentage, the study says 14% of sales managers spend sufficient time coaching their reps. And someone may ask, well, Stephen, what's sufficient time? Well, there are 20 days, 20 working days in a month. I kind of look at 1 day per rep as sufficient time. And I'm not talking coaching. I'm not talking about one-on-one meetings, which there may be some coaching on. I'm talking about observing your reps selling, whether it's in the field, being out with them, whether it's, they're doing remote selling, so it's listening to their calls and debriefing with them, or sitting in on their calls. Um, companies that follow a proven a methodology. Most companies don't have a coaching methodology. They leave it to the manager to decide how they're going to coach. Yet many of them have selling methodologies. Uh, just following a methodology has a positive impact on performance, actually double digit. Yet only less than half companies follow a formal coaching process. So there's some great news here. Uh, the challenge is that you probably need to make some changes in how you go about your day to day and how you coach your salespeople. So, from the same study, uh, sales reps were asked, I think it was 2,200 sales reps were asked to rate their sales managers on 10 skills. And this is rating from best to worst or least effective skill. And just to prove the point, sales coaching falls to the bottom of the list. Sales managers are weakest at coaching versus other things like customer and market knowledge, rewarding individual performance. You can see the list. And I guess the question to ask yourself is if your reps were to rate you in terms of coaching, where would your coaching rank? Would it be your top skill, a middle skill, or somewhere towards the bottom, which represents a big opportunity for you to improve your skill set to grow your team. So this is a definition because people ask, Stephen, what's the definition of coaching? And this isn't one I developed. It's a group called the Sales Executive Council, which is called, I think, the CEB now. And I think there's some important things in these five components they break down coaching. Okay, the first one, I'll just read them out to you, a series of ongoing field-based sessions. So I know not everyone is in the field when they sell. You have SDRs, BDRs. Some reps will do a lot of remote selling in a post-COVID world. But to me, the strongest form of coaching is being in the field, observing what's going on. It's focused on continuous improvement. It never ends. It's an ongoing process. And as I mentioned earlier, it's not about the one size fits all, but it's focused on the individual's needs. One of the shifts two of the shifts that we're going to talk about is one, it has to be self-directed for it to be sustained. Okay? You can't tell the sales rep, hey, you got to improve in this area and expect them to commit to that. They've got to be self-directed. They need to build their own plan. And of course, the one powerful thing of coaching is all about accountability. If you hold people accountable, they will then move forward. If you don't follow up, all the work you do that we're going to talk about today falls through. Okay, so just to shift gears here a little bit, and hopefully these representations help, but I look at coaching on two factors in terms of the goal of coaching. On the left is your individual, and what you want to do with an individual is take them, let's say, from closing skills from where they are today, which is A, and help them elevate their performance to a B. And if you're doing that as a coach, you're doing a phenomenal job. So on a very micro level, it's helping each rep improve one or two of their key skills. On a macro level, it's about moving your team. Okay, and we all have A, B's, and C's on our team. And by coaching each of your reps, what you want to do is you want to shift that performance curve over to the right. So by coaching, you're helping each of your reps get better at what they do, and that's going to impact your bonus, your career trajectory, uh, and actually make you have a little bit more fun in your role. Whoops. So, okay, that's my introduction. Coaching drives performance. Coaching isn't easy, and it requires some shifts in paradigms. And I developed this methodology. I think I don't know exactly when. I think it's about 15 years ago because I've been teaching it for a while. I have not changed it. Maybe I've gotten a little bit better at teaching it, but let's talk about focus coaching, why I call it focus coaching, and how it works. So this is the model. There's 5 steps to it. The first step is what I call a coaching mindset. And I'll go over each step and give you examples of what different coaches do or how a manager will go about a situation versus a master coach. But a coaching mindset is the core of everything you do as a great coach. In fact, you can use a coaching mindset when you're hiring, when you're doing performance reviews. And a coaching mindset is really moving from telling people what to do to asking effective questions. The second step is self-evaluation because we want reps self-evaluating. Self-awareness is a key to be able to coach people. Focus development, which is really helping the rep decide on what they're committed to working on. It's not about the manager's telling, right? It's all about moving from asking to telling. So the coaching focus is what area you're committed to working on. One of the areas that folks who have worked with me realize is I always think we should come prepared when we meet with our boss. I'm sure each one of you, when you meet with your boss, don't come and say, "Oh, what do I need to work on?" or "This is what I'm doing. How do you think I can get there?" I believe that reps have to build their own plans. So coaching and a coaching journey is one area where if the rep doesn't build their plan, how are they committed to it? And the last component is what I call closing a loop, because I see this as a loop. And closing the loop is really just about holding your reps accountable to do what they said they're going to do in their plan. So let's spend a bit of time and have a little bit of fun. This is probably the hardest step, the hardest paradigm shift for every single sales manager that I work with. But once they get it, they're a better coach, they're a better manager, they're a better spouse. Because the fact is, nobody wants to be told what to do anymore, right? We don't live in a directive society. People want empowerment. So the first paradigm shift from coaching, and it's called the Socratic method. I don't have that slide in here, but Socrates used to use questions to get people to think. That's what a coaching mindset, that's what a coach does. They shift from telling their reps what to do to asking them to think and come up with their own plans. So the first shift is from asking versus telling. Sometimes we're judgmental. I know myself. I was always judgmental, and you really got to fight that. So it's about being curious versus being judgmental. You want the reps to self-evaluate. You want them to self-discover. You want them to self-coach. And that's part of the program is if you do a really good job as a master coach, your reps start self-coaching. But as a coach, one of the important things, and I'll talk about this coming up shortly, is you need to be self-aware when you're in a coaching mindset. Okay? And we do self-talk. You guys are doing self-talk right now. And of course, not to pick on Omar, but he did wear his Superman outfit today, or shirt, or t-shirt. Beware of the tendency to be the super rep. And I know, especially I've coached a group of new managers, and they were all phenomenal sales reps. Uh, and the tendency that they have to get away from is it's not their job to be the super rep. It's not their job to close. It's not their job to do the rep's job. It's their rep to coach and develop their people. Okay, so I have a few fun slides like this. I had a whole bunch and I took them out, but I thought I'd leave this in. So if you look at the traditional manager, and I guess many of you, and I don't mean this in a bad way or being judgmental, probably fit into this mold of traditional manager, which, and you can gauge it yourself, and I'll tell you how to gauge it, but they tell employees what to do versus the master coach asks the questions. What do you think you should do? How are you going to get there? The traditional manager focuses on sales targets. How come you're not hitting quota? The master coach focuses on learning. How are you going to get better? What did you learn from that situation? Uh, the traditional manager, and sometimes it's the new one coming out, but sometimes it's the older manager who thinks, I know best. I'm going to tell you what to do. And the master coach and that mindset is assuming the employee has the answers. It's your job to pull them out. Uh, So the traditional manager focuses on correcting poor performance. So maybe you're not making enough calls, maybe you're not hitting your KPIs, which of course you want to focus on, but really the master coach focuses on skill development. Because if you can improve your rep skills, all the other things fall into place. So, I'm not going to ask anybody. I've made this very didactic, the presentation in smaller groups. Are you a traditional manager? And if you are, hey, great opportunity with upside, or are you master coaches? So here's a slide to illustrate, and maybe sometimes we don't realize it, but this is how telling feels. You feel small when your boss is telling you what to do. Why did you do this? You should do that. Do this. Versus the master coach is asking, how are you going to do this? What are you going to do? What would you do in this situation? And I know that nobody wants to be told what to do. Your sales reps are high paid professionals. They're paid to sell. So their opinions and their experience has value. By telling them what to do, you demean that. So this is a technique I use, and for those of you who, I guess you're all younger than me, but no, that's not true. But uh, I used to watch the Flintstones, and if any of you remember the reference to the Flintstones, Fred used to have a devil and an angel on his shoulders, and the devil used to say, "Just tell him to do it," and the angel would say,
Allez,
"Well, maybe you
pipi.
want to be a little more, maybe you want to ask." And when you're in a coaching mindset, we're always doing self-talk, right? What's Steven saying? I don't know if I, anyways. So there's going to be a part of you that it's much faster just to tell someone what to do than to ask. Because then you got to wait for the answer, you got to listen to it, maybe you got to ask another question. So what you want to do is you want to monitor. You want to be self-aware. Remember I mentioned self-awareness? Are you asking or are you telling? And if you're constantly telling, hey, you can correct yourself. I do it all the time. Right now, I'm in tell mode. Although every now and then I throw in a question, but tell mode is just do it. Where ask mode is, what do you think? What are you going to do? What's your plan? You guys got that? It's not a bad imagery to think about. Okay, so I'm going to conclude coaching mindset. And I'm going to read a couple of these, but just to give you an understanding and maybe to gauge for yourself where you fit. So, coaching mindset is asking versus telling, right? So, the traditional manager who's very authoritative and directive, you know, here's what you need to do, or here's what you're doing wrong. Where the effective coach says, what would you do differently next time? There's a difference, right, in terms of that. And all your pictures are covering the master coach. And the master coach is already thinking about the next step. How will you apply this learning? So they're trying to create ownership, build self-improvement, where the traditional manager is, they don't do any, have their rep do any reflection. They're only task focused.
Hey, sors de là.
Okay. Um, Step one. So coaching mindset probably is the most important step to learn. Step two is what I call self-evaluation. And I'm just going to give you an example to set this up. So you've gone on a sales call with a sales rep. You get out of the call, you're in the car, or maybe you're having a coffee, and you debrief. And the traditional manager is dying to tell the rep what they could have done better and provide them with their feedback because their feedback is so insightful. And what I always remind the clients who work with me is have the rep self-evaluate. Ask them some key questions before you provide feedback. There's nothing wrong with feedback. And if you think, you can tell, and feedback is telling. But have the rep self-evaluate before you provide them feedback. And that's a shift in thinking because many times we get out, we're excited, we want to share our knowledge. Sit quietly because what you want to see is did the rep pick up what they can do better, what went well, because you want them being able to do both. So part of what I do, and I talk about, uh, being a little bit coco loco, that you want to ask the same questions all the time, or close to the same questions. What worked well? What did you learn? What did your client say? What are your next steps? Just as examples. Because what you want the rep doing is starting to ask themselves the same questions when you're not there with them. So they're self-evaluating when you're not there. Or another term for that is self-coaching. And you want to encourage self-coaching. So, some people that I coach say, "What would Steven ask?" And that's good. But part of what I want them to do is create their own questions. I have questions to help people. So this is also part of shifting from telling people, this is my feedback, to asking. And then you can see, are they getting it? Are they self-aware? Because to coach people, it's important that they're self-aware. So why does self-evaluation work? I guess I gave the answer. Reps hopefully can identify their own gaps. Because if I say, hey, you need to be better at closing, the reps say, no, I do a pretty good job closing. So by having them self-evaluate, you reduce that defensiveness. Plus, you open their mind to own their areas for development. So self-evaluation is really a good technique that's shifting from don't provide the feedback yet, sit back, wait, ask questions. So here's what the traditional manager does. I've got a series of slides that I think wrap up the thinking. You get out of the call and he says, here's what you need to fix, just get it done. Okay, not the best feedback you can get. Uh, the effective coach, how do you think you performed? Why? What did you do well? So what you always want to do, my old coach, Sammy Chung, used to always say, help people deepen their learnings, connect their actions with outcomes. So I said this, and the doctor or the customer went, yay, I love that. So part of what you want to do as an effective coach is help them self-evaluate. And then, of course, the master coach is already thinking about how do you hold yourself accountable for that improvement. Okay. So, so this is one of the areas that I think separates what I do versus others. Because the one thing that I've learned in business is focus is key, and that's why I call this focused sales coaching. Most managers, uh, what I call it is they do flavor of the day coaching. And what flavor of the day is those of you who go to an ice cream parlor? Today, the flavor of the day is vanilla. Tomorrow, it's chocolate. The next day is strawberry. Some managers, they work with the rep. You got to work on closing today. The next day, they work with the rep, maybe a month later. Oh, you got to work on your probing skills. So if you're moving your coaching from one area to another, you never, ever move the needle because you can't master a skill, by one coaching discussion. Just like if you want to become a master coach, it doesn't just happen today. It's ongoing work to get there. So part of the coaching focus is one, you go deep. So when I say go deep, what you want to do is you want to help that rep. Let's say it's closing skills they're working on. In the next 3 to 6 months, you want to help them become a super closer. If you look at a proficiency of um, 1 to 10, and let's say they're a 6 on closing, you want to help them, you want to coach them and help them develop to become a 9 on 10 or a 10 on 10. Second point of coaching focus is you don't tell the rep, hey, you got to work on closing. You want them to come up with what they're committed to working on. Now, sometimes they come up with crazy things. I've had some coaching clients, managers say, Stephen, can you help me with Excel? And I'd say, that's not what I do. Take a course online if you want to learn Excel, right? I want to help you on your coaching skills. So pick a skill, whether it be coaching mindset, self-evaluation. But at the end of the day, what you want to get is you want to see skill improvement in one or two areas. So the focus is not more than three. Most cases, it's focusing on two areas that the rep is committed to working on. And as the manager, you want to consistently coach them on those areas. So when you're out in the field, today you're working with Phil. And Phil, today, let's pull out your coaching plan. And today we're going to see how you've progressed in terms of your closing skills. And the whole day today, my focus is with you is going to be to evaluate, let you self-evaluate how you're doing on closing. So here are the pillars of coaching focus. Pick one or two areas. It's not about changing everything in a rep. If I asked you folks to change 10 things, there's no way you can do that. But one or two you can probably work on. Rep commits. So it's not you who decides. I mean, you can be in conjunction with the rep, but as long as they pick, let's say there's five things a rep has to work on, and they say, okay, Brighton, I want to work on number five. What do you say, Brighton? You say, okay, let's work on number five. Eventually, you'll get to number one and two, but as long as it's within the realm of that makes sense, that it's something they can improve upon, I say go with it. Let them be committed to it. And a couple of the other pillars are one, the reality is progress or improvement or growth takes time. I used to have a boss, we would plant a seed and we'd say every day he would dig it up to see why it's not growing. You can't do that. We'll talk about the next step, but progress takes time, improvement and growth takes time. But I believe, and I've seen it, that by focusing, you move the needle. And that's really what it's about. It's about impacting someone. If you can impact one or two skills of one of your salespeople over the course of 6 months, you're going to see their sales grow. Okay, so what do you choose? You have to give the rep some direction as to what area that you're going to be coaching on. I say the most likely area is using your selling skill model. You may have other things that fit on there, but you can lay out your coaching skills model and say, which of these seven areas do you want to work on? There may be other things that, I don't know, business planning, but it should relate to core skills to get their job done. So here's our friend, the traditional sales manager. Here are 10 things you need to work on. That doesn't work. Someone's going to be overloaded and never move the needle. You have your transitioning manager. What do you think you should do? You have your effective coach, which is not a bad area to get to. One of the lines that I use, who's here? Robert. Robert, if there were one area that you are committed to working on that would have a positive impact on your performance, what would that be? And of course, the master coach is getting them to figure out how they're going to hold them accountable, or really about having a plan in place. Okay. So sometimes you hear from a sales rep that, oh, I'm good at all the selling skills. I don't need to work on anything, right? And we have a technique. I'll just go over it quickly. I call it forced ranking technique. And if you saw the list that I had of all the selling skills, you have the rep write them out on a piece of paper and you ask them a very simple question. Okay, if you were to rate these seven skills, tell me which one you're best at. Tell me which one you're second best at. And by force ranking, obviously something has to go to the bottom. And maybe it's, I don't know, closing. Closing is always a tough one. Okay, would you be open to working on your closing skills? So if you're facing resistance and it happens, this is one of the techniques we use to get a rep to rank their skills against the other skills to figure out what's better and what may be an area for development. Okay, so just to recap, I'm probably talking quickly. There's a lot of information to take in here. So far what we've gone over is coaching is key. I haven't written that one down, but coaching drives performance and coaching isn't easy. The first thing step in our model is a mindset shift, and it's moving from the manager telling the rep what to do to the manager coaching or asking the rep. When you debrief, or when you go over things with your rep, let the rep evaluate, do their evaluation first. Self-assessment drives ownership. And focus, we talked about focus, focus beats flavor of the day any day because you can't change things quickly. Improvement takes time. And by focusing and by getting the rep to commit, you basically then have a pathway for development. Okay, let's go on to the next step. For some reason, this is one of my favorites because it's hard to do, or it's hard to get past this. Um, Anytime there was a problem in my business when I was a VP of sales, I'd always have a plan in place because I didn't want my boss coming saying, "What the hell, Rosen, what the hell are you doing about this?" So I always believed that high-paid professionals, reps being one of them, should always direct and build their plan. So it's about empowerment. So we've gone through, if you think of the steps, we're asking more questions. The rep is evaluating themselves. The rep is deciding or committing to what they're going to focus on. The next step, so that's the what. What are you going to focus on? The next step is the hows. And sometimes the hows are so hard to come up with. They don't have to be complicated, right? Um, so here's the elements, okay? The rep, I just said them, so I'm jumping ahead of myself. The hard step is not what you're going to work on, it's how you're going to get there. And people have to think through action steps. So I don't know, let me take an example. Closing skills. Step one is I'm going to work with someone who's great at closing. I'm going to go out with them for a day and learn. I'm going to reread the chapter on closing from our training manual. Those are hows. If you have 4 or 5 of those hows, that's good. That's a plan, in my opinion. Okay. And if I haven't said it before, and I know it's an old-fashioned statement, but pen to paper. We need to document this because a plan that's verbalized is an idea. It's not a plan until it's put on paper because it establishes commitment. And your job as the coach is to facilitate and guide the rep in building their plan. It's not to be hands off on the plan, but you facilitate the process. Oh, what else can you do? Are there other things you can do to help become a better closer? So you're facilitating the process. Sometimes you have to give an answer or two, but the point is the rep has to write their own plan, not the manager. So there's 2 reasons why this is very powerful. Anytime we write something down, it crystallizes our thinking. It makes us think better when we have to put pen to paper. So it crystallizes and it forms a commitment. It's like a contract, right? If I hand you, this is my plan, and of course you got to need to do the last step, which we'll talk about. Um, it's a commitment. In my coaching journeys, I have people sign them, uh, not for any other reason, but the fact is you want them to take ownership to their plan. Okay. So reason why we put pen to paper or we write out a plan is crystallizes our thinking. So by writing, I know I write out my to-do list because I'll forget what I want to do. But it also helps me think, right? You can all relate to that. And it also strengthens our commitment. Yesterday was a holiday in Canada. I had 5 things I wanted to do. I wrote them down. Guess what? All 5 got done. I thought, what else can I do? Anyways, you guys got that. So here again is our traditional manager. Uh, and our traditional manager says, here's your improvement plan uh, and how to execute it. That's great. I really don't like you, manager, but okay. I'm not going to do it anyways, but thank you. And our effective coach, our transitioning manager, here's a plan. So they still do the plan. What do you think? You're still not there as a coach yet. The effective coach asked, they review the plan. What else can you do? Is there anything else you can do? And then, of course, the master coach is, okay, that's great. How are you going to hold yourself accountable to the plan? Have you time stamped it? Um, when are you going to make it happen? You see the difference. So, step five. Step five is really, did I write it down? Nope. I call that the power of coaching. Because one of the reasons why we get a coach, if we go to the gym, I'm sure we can all count to 10, right? But having a coach there, they go 1, 2, 3, and I'm ready to stop at 3, but he's standing over me counting. So I got to push to 10, even though it's painful. So having someone hold you accountable, because we're much better at keeping commitments we make to others than to ourselves. So step five, and again, I mentioned early on in the presentation, accountability is not punitive. What you're doing is you're following up. You check in regularly, you ask thoughtful questions. How has it gone with uh, working with Joe, who's our best closer? But you pull out your commitments with the rep. So, I use a one-page coaching journey. Anyone I work with who I'm coaching, any sales leader, I have them build up their own plan. And every time I meet with them, their plan is right by the side here in a binder. And I pull it out and I'll go through and see how they're progressing. And then, the old adage, people. Oh, I think I got it wrong. But people respect what you inspect. Follow up is so key. And really, follow up, it's not that you can't do follow up. Sometimes we're lazy. Sometimes we don't have the plan in front of us. And to me, if it's a one-page plan and you're working with a rep, bring it with you. Pull it out. You're on the phone, pull it out. Uh, it's not hard to follow up, but you got to make that part of your practice. Okay. So, you're going through a rep's plan, traditional manager. Why didn't you do what we talked about? Great question. I'm sure that's going to stimulate a good conversation. It's like, I don't know. The effective coach says, what progress have you made on your commitments? What successes have you had? What challenges are you having? Uh, you know, how do you think you're doing? What are you going to do next? Okay. So part of it is shifting again from the traditional telling, getting a little bit better, asking a few questions, and then really becoming a coach and a master coach. So, the power of coaching is accountability because we're much better at keeping commitments to others and to ourselves. And anything I put in red, accountability is a glue that ties commitment to results. So, the accountability component drives performance. It builds trust with you and your rep because the stuff that you work on is actually going to be followed through on. You get better productivity. You're empowering and really creating ownership to their own development. And reps who are being developed and see themselves growing, they're more motivated and they're more engaged with the organization. How are we doing for time? Not bad. So let's just recap the model. The last few steps we talked about. I believe, and it's critical to empower your reps to create their own coaching plans. In fact, if a rep is going after an account, I think it's important for them to create their own plan and then have a discussion as opposed to just showing up and saying, what should I do here? The importance of closing the accountability loop. All the work you do, asking great questions, getting a focus, getting the rep to self-evaluate. If you don't close the loop, then it's all for naught. And basically, the beauty of coaching is it drives ownership, it drives motivation, and the fact is it drives results. And I talked about that early on in the slide deck. So here's some uh, here's some proof of concept. I took this and I just changed the graphics, but it's from the American Society of Training and Development. And really the question they ask themselves is, what's the likelihood of achieving a goal if you hear of an idea? Hey, I should be better at closing. Well, there's a 10% chance of getting better at closing. If you say, hey, you know what? I want to get better at coaching, uh, there's a 25% chance. If you decide you'll do it and you put timelines, I'm going to get better at closing and I'm going to work on it for the next 6 months, there's a 40% chance. If you build a plan. So if you see the yellow connects to self-directed POA. This one relates to coaching focus. If you build a plan, you're 50% of the way there. That's not bad. If you commit to someone else that you'll do it, it increases to 65. But the power of doing all these things is if the rep or the manager or the coachee, I guess, schedules a follow-up with the person who you're holding yourself accountable to. So I know I'm meeting with Steven next week. I used to have a coach when I was in industry, Sammy. Uh, when I used to meet with Sammy, I'd always pull out my commitments. So at least I had an excuse why I didn't do something. right? I can't hear if there's any laughter, but I did that because I knew I committed to doing those things. So the likelihood of getting things done if you follow all these steps increases to 95% based on the American Society of Training and Development. Okay, so this is the powerful piece, closing the loop, holding people accountable. So to summarize, there are five key paradigm shifts to make to becoming a great coach. Okay, and in their own, they all kind of relate to each other. The first and most important one is shifting from telling people what to do to asking effective questions. Excuse me. Number two, the shift is moving from self-eval from not from self-evaluation, from providing feedback to prompting the rep to self-evaluate. And I didn't mention this earlier, it just came to mind. Let's say you're working, I mentioned 1 day per month per rep. So, and let's say there's 20 days in a month. That means the other 19 days that you're not with them, you want them self-coaching. So you want them, after they've come out of a sales call, to do the same debrief that you're doing. Okay. Focus on one or two skills. You know, um, in athletics, I mean, I've tried to learn how to golf several times, and again, you work on the hand grip, you work on the stance, but I can't work on six things because then I forget what I'm doing. Work on one or two key skills when you're coaching, and that motivates the rep for improvement. I don't want to bang on my table, but I'll do a light bang. Pen to paper is important. A a verbal plan is just an idea. A written plan is a plan. And the importance of closing the accountability loop. You've done all these wonderful things. You have a plan. Make sure you follow up regularly with your salesperson. Um, okay. So another proof of concept is I thought they were going to be here today, and I can't tell who's here. But Brian McCardle wrote I worked with his team. He was the head of training at Silex, and they had a significant increase. Brian, if you're here, thank you for the wonderful testimonial. You can find 50 plus of these on my LinkedIn profile if you want to know a bit more about me and what I do. But this is what Brian said: coaching mindset to be a powerful and impactful for our sales leadership team. They shifted to a coaching mindset. They followed the other steps, which we helped them with 6 months of coaching, and it led to a 30% increase in sales within a very short period of time. Costa, who's a sales manager at Medesca, he loved our focused coaching methodology, and he felt it transformed himself and his sales performance, and he felt it was a game changer for him. So, in terms of if you want to become a master sales coach, you understand the upsides. You've maybe had a chance to self-reflect where you're at. If you're in sales enablement, maybe where your sales leaders are at in terms of their coaching effectiveness. But I'm not a trainer by trade. I'm a VP of sales by trade. I've become a coach, a much better coach since I started coaching than when I was a leader. I was probably more inspirational. But we follow a formula at Star, and the formula is one we assess your your coaching skills. We have a 180 assessment, like a 360, but it's you and your sales reps who do the evaluation. We help identify areas of strength and areas to target for development. We train. You got a pretty good glimpse of focused coaching, but we train on that. In many cases, it's in person. And then the key to really making a difference is we reinforce, reinforce, and reinforce, which includes one-on-one coaching and we also do group learning experiences, so Zoom type meetings where we work with the management team or a group of managers who are working individually to help them refine their skills to discuss challenges as a way of ongoing learning so we stay on track with what we learned. So we've now hit what I call the fork in the road. And you've heard what I had to say. I don't think this is a sales pitch, but it's just maybe a way to go next. So you can decide, hey, you know what? I'm okay. I'm going to stay the course. I don't really need to change anything. Maybe the company will help me by creating a course. Maybe I'll go to a 1 to 2 day workshop to help me. Okay, okay. You can do that. There is a choice. I've kind of given you a little bit of the impact that you can get, and it's the direction to really improve your career and your bonus potential. So if you want to learn more and embark upon growing, um, you can seek out resources, you can take control, not wait for your company. Development is ongoing. So if you're not getting it where you are, either you leave companies or you find ways to get it, whether it be the internet, um, working with people like myself. And really, at the end of the day, by developing yourself, you're going to improve your performance. So I have an exclusive offer. There's no hard sell on it, but if you want to become a master coach, we do an assessment, which is called the Coaching Effectiveness Snapshot. We'll take you through the course, whether it be online, the course we went over today, but in greater detail. And then I provide, which to me is the magic that makes us all tick, is one-on-one sales leadership coaching, which is done on Zoom. We meet every second week, one-on-one, to help you work through and implement our coaching methodology. With a group, we also include, assuming there's a group of 5, we do monthly group learning sessions. We provide you with some tools, which is a coaching journey, a coaching planner, and as well as you have 24/7 access through our Slack community, which we put everybody on. And that was just designed for this group. So here's I guess the financial part. The program usually costs $7,500. It's a complete 6-month leadership journey on coaching. Today I'm offering a $2,000 discount. Plus, we're throwing in a $500 bonus of the Coaching Effective Snapshot. So if you're interested, your total investment is $5,000. It's for a limited time. Um, I hear, anyways, if you're still not sure, uh, you do want to coach more, but you don't follow through. You've tried training before, but haven't stick to it. If you're unsure if the program will drive results for you, let's set up a time to talk. There's no obligation, there's no sales pitch. Just talk about how we can make you a better coach. And all you need to do is take this URL down, which is my website, starresults.com, /book your session, /, and you can book a 30-minute meeting with me. We can talk about the program. I'm not going to pitch you. It's a limited time offer. I've got a lot of great clients that I'm working with. We'll determine if you're a good fit for the program, if you're committed to doing it, and then we can start our journey. And there's only 5 seats available for this quarter, but I welcome you to chat with me and see if this is for you. So I've still got a few people left. I heard some people leaving. Does anyone have any questions? Also, I'll mention it if it's not for you and you're looking at a corporate solution, I'm happy to talk to you about that as well for your sales leadership team. Does anyone have any questions? Do I have to unmute?
No questions on my part, Steven, but excellent presentation and
Thank you.
really learned a lot. Thank you for sharing this information.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah, Steven, I would add excellent presentation. Having worked with you in the past, your approach, the framework fits very nicely into corporate into corporate cadences. If you have regular one-on-ones with your reps, quarterly business reviews, that type of thing, this methodology fits in perfectly. And the other thing I found was in working with you, it tends to be if you fix one area and start being more effective as a coach in one area, it's amazing how so many other areas start to come along as well. So I think there's added benefit there, and none of this is hard, but I mean it's easy to listen and understand, but it's more the challenges in the implementation and making it work for each of us. So thank you for the snapshot today. It was excellent.
Thank you, Chris. And you were a great, if I could say, student. You did a great job implementing the system.
Good evening, good morning, Stephen. This is Rana
Hello.
here. Hi. Am I poor? You are able to hear me?
Yeah, I hear you just fine.
Okay. I'm based out of India. I just started the company and I'm yet to recruit some people in my company. I was following you for quite a number of years now. Some of the things which I try to do, like, we do a transformation to various companies in India. I always tell them that, you need to, because many of the things which you are saying that, you need to write it down. And that's most of the time, the MSME companies, the smaller companies, they don't follow.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah. And we try to push them to do that. If you write, you commit.
Yeah.
And that's something exactly what you have proven. So I really thank you for telling, and also understand the self-evaluation, which is very important, and which I try doing that. But I really appreciate the way you have taken the presentation. I need to grow up a little more to have my own team. Possibly in a couple of months, I will be back to you again. Yeah.
So
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the feedback.
You wanted to say something. Yeah.
I'm glad you enjoyed it and that you it reinforced some things that you believe, and hopefully it's maybe giving you some other thoughts on what you can do differently when you have your team.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I real pleasure
Thank you.
to have your presentation.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me.
Thanks.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Well, we're down to a small group. I think it's 4. So if there aren't any questions, I wish everybody a great day. I don't know what time it is in India. I assume it's probably 12 hours difference. So it's a late night.
Here, yeah, it's 10:30 in the night, but I thought that it is the good time. I mean, learning is always there throughout the day. So I believe that we have to learn. And when you are there, I thought that I should learn something from you today. So the day counts well. Thank you.
Have a good sleep. I'll just start my day. And
there you go.
Superman?
Yes, sir.
That's what I'm going to call you from now on.
I'm normally dressed more business.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to pick on you. I just thought it actually fit with what I was going to talk about.
We had a great sales day yesterday, so I felt a little,
well,
after a great sales day. But no, that was a great presentation, and I've been really enjoying all the content, Steven and Rana. Also, congratulations on your company as well. Best to you as well, sir. That's awesome.
Real pleasure here, and I love to. I'm there in LinkedIn, so anything, my pleasure will be to help you. And I love cross-border. I worked with earlier with NEC Corporation Solution of America, so I have a lot of my friends there in US. So anything, please feel free to be in touch. And Steven is there. He's a great guru. I would say in Indian word we say guru. So
yes, I agree on that.
That's very kind.
And I always learn from his literature, and whatever he's saying is exactly the words which is there and need to be there whenever we are growing the company, when we need to, because everything we cannot do. And and when we are thinking of doing, most of the time we are doing a mistake saying that I want to do everything, and should not be there. I allocate the person saying that you think whatever thing is your strength, weaknesses, you should tell. I will try to see if I can help you on that, or if I don't have, I will try to bring somebody who can coach like Stephen and all. So it is a great learning today, Stephen. Again, I've revisited.
I'm passionate about this stuff, and I've been at it for over 20 years, and it still doesn't get boring for me. So
great.
Okay, gentlemen.
Thank you again. You both have a great day and a great night.
You too. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.